Brexit is madness. Macron's minister explodes as Boris refuses to crumble. France has launched another scathing attack against the UK, with one of Emmanuel Macron's senior ministers boasting the big Brexit losers will be the British in a no-deal scenario as Boris Johnson continues to stand firm against European Union demands. Bruno Le Maire, the French Minister for Economic Affairs, raged, "Brexit is madness," as London and Brussels remain locked in talks in a last-ditch attempt to agree to a trade deal before the transition period deadline expires on December 31. The minister used a phrase from the late author John le Carré to brand the UK's departure from the bloc as a political, economic and historical folly. When asked during an interview with France Info TV about the possible impact of a no-deal Brexit, Le Maire bluntly replied, "The big Brexit losers will be the British." The French minister also claimed Brexit would only see the country's economy drop by 0.1% but warned Britain would experience a much bigger slump. It's the latest in a string of attacks from Mr. Le Maire directed at Britain's decision to leave the EU. During the early moments of trade talks between the two sides, he had warned EU member states not to make any further concessions in negotiations as this would have a devastating impact on unity in the bloc. In 2018, he also launched a scathing attack against Mr. Johnson and Brexiteers, accusing those of pushing the case for the UK's exit from the EU of hiding the real impact of it from the public. London and Brussels have been locked in post-Brexit trade talks since March after the UK left the EU on January 31, leaving it tied to rules on the customs union and single market until the transition period deadline ends in just over 2 weeks. But over recent weeks, President Macron's government has been increasingly vocal in proceedings, particularly around the issue of fisheries, which remains a major stumbling block in the current trade negotiations. He has piled pressure on both the UK and EU to agree a deal that would enable continued access to British coastal waters for French fishermen, even threatening to veto any trade deal that does not adhere to these red lines. But Downing Street has stood firm against these demands, with House of Lords peer and former Conservative leader Lord Howard of Rising warning Mr. Macron must stop acting as if France has a God-given right of access to the British fish in British waters.